I don't know to what degree I failed in this assignment. I don't think anything ever made me want to record. I love rock music and I played in many rock bands, but I'm a keyboard geek and I had a synthesizer very early on. My mother bought me one, and if you were a synthesizer guy in 1970, 71, you had to go find a tape deck friend and then you would hook shit together and make terrible music. I did that for quite some time, and ultimately the 80s happened and I had friends in bands and, oh, you know how to run the chord track, so I made terrible band recording for years until I learned what I was doing. But when I was in 3rd grade, and this would be sometime in the mid-60s, the music appreciation teacher, who was a pothead jazz cat who hated the Beatles, and most of my teachers were pothead jazz cats that hated the Beatles. These are my music teachers, and of course I was a total Beatles nerd. And you kids with your Abbey Road t-shirts, you know, you experience the Beatles as a catalog, you don't get the picture. It's like, I watched them slowly change the world. They slowly changed how the adults wore their hair and their costumes and everything. I go to the Unitarian church and, you know, the substitute school teachers had Nehru jackets and weird medallions. And you knew something was going on. And as a child, I slowly heard each Beatles record sort of turn into something a little cooler, something a little stranger, and there were more and more sounds that came from a world that I didn't recognize. And I was, okay, the Beatles are dragging in this world where the sounds don't make any sense, or they at least pose questions. Alongside being a, you know, whatever that is, in early 60s, I was a big fan of all the novelty wrestler records, the novelty surf records. I grew up in Long Beach, lots of surf records on the radio. Chipmunks, the Purple People Eater, Has anybody ever had the 45 for They're Coming to Take Me Away in their hand? And you know what the B-side is, right? Right, it's the entire thing backwards. It's the Rosetta Stone. So you listen to this thing where the guy's voice is speeding up and the drums are staying the same, and then you turn it over and the voice goes down and the drums stay the same, but they're backwards. So that would have been a good record to bring. Probably more fun than what I brought. But this pothead teacher, Mr. Kimball, his usual thing, he would bring these very weird plastic flutes around for us to learn rudimentary musical things, and they made your mouth taste funny and your head was messed up afterwards. So you'd be out of breath from blowing these carcinogenic plastic flutes, and your lips would be tingling, and then he would bring you, here's Chopin. And Chopin's bust around the room and play the Chopin record. One week, perhaps out of perversity, I don't know, he brought in the soundtrack for Invaders from Mars and the Columbia Princeton Electronic Music Center Volume 1. Does anybody have the Columbia Princeton Electronic? Okay. Well, I'm going to play you a song that only lives on that record because it's never been reissued and never been put on CD, and I was lucky enough to find the vinyl in my house, and it's been cleaned up by former Tapeop panelist Steve Turnridge at Ultraviolet Studios in Seattle, so it's got a few less Dixon pops. But he was trying to present kind of, listen to it, it's the same sounds, it's the same techniques, these stuffy composers are using the same gimmicks as Hollywood, sound effects men. And on this disc was Vladimir Usinchevsky, Milton Babbitt, Mario Davidowski, Bülent Ariel, I can't really do that very well, a Turkish composer named Ilana Marglu, and this guy, Halim El Dab, who has disappeared from the West and now is an Egyptian composer of sorts. I think he's kind of like a Yanni over there or something like that. They have religious holidays with fireworks, and he writes the giant 8-channel thing to be played, at the festival or something like that. But